Welcome to the video series, Getting the Most from Your Mac. In this episode of Getting the Most from Your Mac, we are going to discuss how we can connect and manage a secondary display. This will help us to broadcast or present our screens to others in our classroom or expand our workspace to enhance our productivity. Before we can connect with an external display, we will need to take a look at our Mac and determine what we will need to accomplish this task. Now let's take a look at the sides of your MacBook. Depending on the age of your computer, you may notice a variety of ports. These ports not only allow you to charge your MacBook, but also allow you to connect your computer to external devices. Look for the port that is highlighted in red on this slide. This is one of the possible ports we are going to use today. You will notice that it is marked with a lightning bolt shaped icon. This is the Thunderbolt port. Now, I'm going to invite you to pause the video here and take a moment to examine the ports on the sides of your MacBook. Look to see if you have a Thunderbolt port on your device. If you are unable to find this port, you may have a newer Mac. Sit tight. We will talk to you about your computer in a moment. When you are ready to move forward, please press play to continue. Before we discuss the other ports, let's take a minute to talk a little bit more about the Thunderbolt port. If your computer has a Thunderbolt port, you may need an adapter to connect your computer to a secondary display. Adapters, or dongles, are tools that will help us to connect our Mac to devices that require ports that are not present on our computer. In your case, you are trying to connect your Mac to a smart panel, projector, TV, or monitor. These devices will require either an HDMI dongle, as shown to the left, or a VGA dongle, as shown to the right. Each classroom is a little different, so we encourage you to identify what kind of device you have in your classroom in order to verify which type of dongle is needed to connect with your Mac. The type and age of the secondary display you have in your room will determine what type of dongle you need. We will review this information in a few slides. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a look at the right-hand side of your Mac. Depending on the age of your computer, you may notice ports that look like the ones shown here. Examine the port that is highlighted in red. This is one of the possible ports we are going to use today. This is the HDMI port. If you have an HDMI port on your Mac, you can connect an HDMI device, such as a TV or a smart panel, directly to your computer with an HDMI cord without the use of a dongle or adapter. Now, I'm going to invite you to pause the video and look to see if you have an HDMI port on your device. If you are unable to find this port, you may have a newer Mac. Sit tight. We will talk about your computer in a moment. When you are ready to move forward, please press play to continue. If the past few slides did not apply to you, you may have observed that you have very few ports on the sides of your computer and that all of the ports are the same size and shape. This means that you have one of the newer USB-C enabled Macs. USB-C enabled Macs require the use of a dongle or adapter to connect with a secondary display. Above, you will notice that there are two possible types of dongles that you can use to connect with your secondary display. The white one will support HDMI connections, while the Targus will allow you to connect with both VGA and HDMI-enabled devices. If you have this type of MacBook, one of these dongles will have been provisioned for you. If you already have a dongle, it will be helpful to have it nearby for the next few phases of this process. If not, please take a moment now to identify which type of dongle you will need to connect with the external display in your classroom. When you are ready, press play to continue. Now, let's talk about displays. If you have a VGA-enabled device, such as a projector or an older smart panel with an overhead or wall-mounted projector, you will need to connect your Mac with a VGA adapter. Please note that the VGA cable will be found to the right-hand side of the older smart panels. If this slide applies to you, please pause the video here and take a moment to connect your Mac with your smart panel or projector. When you are ready, press play to move forward. On the other hand, when working with an HDMI-enabled TV or monitor or a newer smart panel, you will need to connect the HDMI cable with your Mac. If your computer only has a Thunderbolt port, as shown here, you will need your Thunderbolt to HDMI dongle to daisy chain the HDMI cable to your Mac. You will find the HDMI cable on the left-hand side of your smartboard. If this slide applies to you, please pause the video here and connect your Mac with your smart panel or HDMI-enabled TV or monitor. When you are ready, press play to move forward. As we mentioned earlier, if your computer has an HDMI port on the right-hand side, you can connect the cable directly to your Mac without a dongle. You will find your cable to the left-hand side of your smart panel. If this slide applies to you, pause the video here and take a moment to connect your Mac with your smart panel or HDMI-enabled TV or monitor. When you are ready, please press play to move forward. Last, if your computer only has USB-C ports, you will need to connect either the Targus or the USB-C to HDMI dongle to your Mac, and then daisy chain it to your smart panel using the HDMI cable found on the left-hand side of your panel. If this slide applies to you, please pause the video here and take a moment to connect your Mac with the smart panel or HDMI-enabled TV or monitor. When you are ready, press play to move forward. Before we compare your Mac with your external display, you will need to turn on your device and select the correct input. While this can be done easily by pressing the input button on your TV or projector remote, a newer smart board requires a few additional steps. If you are working with a newer smart panel, you will need to first ensure that the device is plugged in and powered on. You will then need to wake it by tapping on the button marked with a moon. In this image, this button is labeled with a 1. Pause the video here to turn on your smart panel. Once it is active, press play to continue. Next, you will want to select the input, which is the button marked with an arrow. In this image, this button is labeled with a 2. Once you tap the input button, you will notice a menu appear on your screen that looks like the one on this slide. Tap the input button repeatedly until the blue line is highlighting the word HDMI that is illuminated with white font. As you can see from this image, there are 2 HDMI inputs on your smartboard, HDMI 1 and HDMI 2. The one selected appears to be white, while the other appears to be grayed out. This indicates that your smart panel has recognized an active connection to your Mac in the HDMI 1 port. Pause the video here to select the correct input and connect your smartboard with your Mac. When you are ready, please press play to continue. If neither of the HDMI inputs are illuminated from the input menu, you may need to check the HDMI connection to your smart panel. Take a look on the left-hand side of your panel to see which of the HDMI ports are in use and ensure that the cable connected to your Mac is securely plugged into the HDMI port on the smartboard. The input ports are labeled accordingly, which will help you as you select your input source on your smartboard. Beside each of the HDMI input ports, you should notice a square port for USB Touch with a cable plugged into it. When using a smartboard, you should connect this cable to a USB port on your Mac or dongle so that you can use your hand or smartboard pens to make selections and annotations on your screen. Be sure to connect the USB wire that correlates with the HDMI port you have connected. To learn more about Smart Touch, we recommend that you check out our Digital Tools for Learning website and review the Smart Tools page. To connect the USB Touch cable to your Mac, look for the USB symbol on the sides of your Mac or on your dongle. You will notice that the port is rectangular and marked with the symbol shown on this slide. Please pause the video here to take a moment to connect the USB Touch to your Mac. When you are ready, please press play to continue. Once you have turned on your secondary display and selected the correct input source, you will notice that your projector, secondary monitor, or smartboard has the same display as your laptop. This is called mirroring, as the secondary display is mirroring the content and action shown on your laptop screen. Mirroring allows us to broadcast the screen of our laptop to a larger audience. If you are used to connecting your laptop to a projector or smartboard, you will be familiar with this technique, as it is the default action when the laptop is connected to a secondary screen or projector. Now that we have everything connected, let's talk about how we can use this secondary display to extend our workspace. To manage our secondary display, we will need to access our System Preferences menu. You will notice that at the bottom of our screen, we have a series of colorful buttons. This is our dock. On your dock, you may notice a button that looks like gears and cogs. This is your System Preferences menu. Click on it to activate. If you are unable to access your System Preferences from your dock, you can also always access your System Preferences from this Apple menu in the upper left corner. Watch, as I click and activate this menu, I'll notice that System Preferences is an option from here as well. Please pause the video at this time to access system preferences. When you are ready, please press play to move forward. Now, as you can see, there are a wide array of menu options found in this window. These menus will allow us to customize and manage our Mac. Please note that we will be doing a deeper dive of what you can do in system preferences in later videos. For today, we are primarily going to focus on displays, which is found here. If in the future you are trying to manage your displays and are unable to remember which of these menus to choose from, you can always use this spotlight search here to type in a search query. You'll notice that your Mac will now highlight relevant menu options to narrow your search. Without further ado, I'm going to ask you to please pause the video and press Display. Once you have this window open, please press play to continue. You will notice from this menu, I have some options here. I'm hoping that you're able to see the word arrangement. If you're unable to see the arrangement option, it is because your computer is not currently connected to a secondary display, monitor, television, projector, or smartboard. Please pause the video here to make sure that your device is connected so that you will be able to see the arrangement button. When you're ready to move on, please press play to move forward. Once you have your arrangement window open, it should look something like this. You'll notice that in the center of my screen, I have two windows that appear to be stacked on one another. The reason for this is because mirror displays is enabled. That's a default once you connect to a secondary display. Remember, we want to have two separate displays, so I'm actually going to unselect this option. You'll notice that this window will now change once this is unselected. Now I have two screens beside one another. You'll notice that one has a white bar and the other one doesn't. That's because the one with the white bar is your primary display or your laptop. If I want to check, I could just click and you'll notice a red outline will highlight your screen to show which screen you've selected. If you need to, you could always click on that white bar and transfer it over if you would like to transfer the role of the primary display from one screen to the other. Now, if I click on my secondary display, the one without the white bar, you'll notice that I can click and drag it around my primary display to establish the position or the arrangement of that secondary monitor. Now, we're strongly going to recommend that you create an arrangement that reflects the geographic setup in your classroom. So in the room I'm in, my secondary display is actually over to the left of my primary screen. So that's why I'm going to establish my arrangement like this. I'd like to invite you to pause the video here and establish the arrangement on your own. When you're ready, please press play to continue. Now that we have everything connected and arranged, we can close our System Preferences window and talk about how we can use this new setup as we teach. Working with a secondary monitor is a great way to enhance your ability to multitask and be productive. As you can see, my laptop screen is currently quite crowded as I'm trying to view several windows at once in order to view everything I need to teach this lesson. Because I have a secondary monitor, I can spread this work across two screens to increase my ability to view everything I need for this lesson without having to maximize, minimize, or hide my windows. To move your content onto your secondary monitor, you simply need to click and hold while dragging your finger to direct windows onto the expanded space. For instance, if I want to view this SLSO file on my secondary monitor, I will drag it in the direction that I assigned when I set up my arrangement. Now, I'm going to model this for you. Watch as I am able to drag my smart lesson from my laptop to my smart panel. You will notice that the edge of my screen no longer acts as a boundary, and I can pull that window onto my secondary monitor. Pause the video here and try this on your own. When you are ready, press play to continue. Now with dual screening, I will be able to use both screens to multitask. As you can see from this image, I am able to use my laptop screen space to engage with and monitor my students in Meet while working with an SLSO lesson on my smartboard. To share my screen with students at home, I can simply click Present Now here and select Entire Screen. You will notice that I now have two screens to choose from. To share my smartboard, I'll simply click Screen 2 and press Share. My students at home will now be able to see whatever I do on my smartboard, including my lesson presentation and any annotations. When using Zoom, on the other hand, to share my screen with students, I will click Share Screen, and you'll notice that my laptop screen and my smartboard are represented by Desktop 1 and Desktop 2. I'll click to select my smartboard. I'll make any adjustments for media, and then I'll press Share. My students will now be able to see my lesson on my smartboard, while I'll be able to monitor and engage with them using the chat features, participant menu, or their video feed on the screen of my laptop. Don't forget to visit our Digital Tools for Learning website to continue learning. Choose Smart Tools to learn more about how to maximize the use of your smart panels, and Apple Tools to see additional videos in the series, How to Get the Most from Your Mac. If you need additional support, reach out to your school's educational technology specialist. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time.